coaching thing is I look at it as I'm having a relationship with you as well as myself. And because when I'm coaching people, what I'm aware of is that I'm answering the questions that I don't even know about and I haven't asked myself. So it's like I'm having a mirror reflection of myself at times. And it's, I don't look at myself as any higher than anybody else. Because if I do, then I get caught up in a lie, because we all have stuff that goes on. So when it comes to what the ICF is, their definition, and I know it sounds like a very broad definition, but for me, it's just about coaching is about just having a relationship with somebody, and we all do it. We all do it, but it's like, all of a sudden everybody wants to be a coach, and and if you're not a coach if you're not earning 100K a year and all this lot, and that's just pressure. It's just like you've got to be something that's not true. I remember when I first started to get into all of this, it's like, Tony Robbins was one of the first persons I've ever heard about coaching. I wanted to be like Tony Robbins. But then after a time, people were saying, I want you for you, not for that person. And it made me understand that that's what the relationship is. Somebody wants you for you. And some people connect. Some people want, relationship, to be dominated. Some people want people to speak to them softly. But all coaching is just helping someone to find their way home, back inside themselves. And that's how I see it for myself.
Nice. Thanks, Mark. Lots in there. Let me see. Ulrika.
Erica. Yeah, Erica. You can
Erica.
say Erica.
All right, Erica, your hand went up. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I thought it was really interesting, this idea with relationships, because I guess to me, coaching is taking someone through a transformational experience. Because I believe that if you go to a coach, there is something you want to transform in your life. There is something that you want to change. And we take the help from others because we hope that they're going to help us through that transformational process. And it is all about relationship, the relationship that we build with ourselves, but also the relationship that we build with someone else. And we can't really let someone in to our own space and to the change that we want to make if we don't build a trust and relationship with that person. And I thought it was just really beautiful what Mark said, that what did you say? One doesn't fit all. Like there is, we meet someone that we connect with, and that can be a coaching experience if we need help with something. But I just think that coaching, the core of coaching, is really helping someone through a transformational experience, because you're looking for that change, you're looking for that transformation. And it's just a thought that came up.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Yeah. So it sounds like you're both in agreement that there is a partnership of some kind that's going on.
Like a collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
It's a collaboration, yeah.
Hold on there, Mark, 1 sec. George, go ahead, man. Where'd he go? There we go. George, unmute.
Got it.
There we go.
Never learned some things. You hit on the word there at the end. I agree with the Mark and Ulrika, but the partnership, the way that the definition, is, it's like a dictionary definition. It's good, but to me, it's so much coaching is about a partnership. Whereas where I think of, if you think of the relationship between me and a client as a window, there's no threshold difference. It is a totally equal partnership. and I'm holding that other person fully capable and already has everything they need to figure out whether it's planning, whether it's doing, whether it's feeling where they want to go. And my job is simply kind of from an inside out thing, showing them how it really works. Because we've got a lot of screwed up, messed up information in the world about what makes us go and what doesn't, and helping them see it for themselves. Because when they see it for themselves and see something freshly, well, that's transformation. They will live differently. They will behave differently. They'll take
Nice. So again, there we go. So again, a common theme around partnering with the person. Nice. Mark, you want to unmute yourself, or here, I'll get your hand.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved what Erica said as well, and as well as George. I just wanted to add to that. One of the things what I found for myself, putting the word transformation on somebody, believing that that's what my job is to do, puts extra pressure on me. Because I was speaking to somebody the other day, and one of the words what they said was that our job is not to fix, our job is to witness. And that's where the transformation comes from. So I just wanted to just put that in there, because I found for myself, when I first started to learn about coaching, I'm still learning. Every day it's a learning day. But, I'm going to transform you. I'm going to make your life this, that. I can't do anything if you don't want to do it. And that's what I've been aware of. See, so I just wanted to add that into it as well.
Oh, thank you, Mark. Just seeing from, and feel free to use the chat room too, everyone, and we'll do our best to keep an eye on everything. Kirsten just mentioned partnership to create value, and I like the word co-creation, and then co-creation and collaboration. So listen, we've I've got way too much planned for today, I'm realizing already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break us off into breakout rooms. So we have a sort of a basic concept, and we've had some different opinions on what coaching is. So I'm going to find the breakout room feature and put us in there and give us, let's see, how many of us are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15. So give me 1 second there. This should do it. So they'll be automatically assigned. You can just go to the room and give you an opportunity to discuss amongst yourselves. Then we'll come back and maybe share a few opinions, some thoughts, and then we'll see where we go from there. So I'm going to put us into the rooms now. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, this has worked out really nicely. Okay, so haha, this seems to be working. Oh, look at that. I wonder how this is going to record. Aha. Success. It seems to have worked.
We made it.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Well, we got, there we are. Everyone else is coming back too. Oh, this is cool. There's probably another way to do this that, I wonder if there's a timer that we can set. Okay. Groovy. So I've got everyone muted as we come back into the room. So what do we think, everyone? And again, feel free to unmute yourselves now that we're all back in the room. What did you discover? Or is there anything that you discovered? Oh, sure. Everyone was real willing at the start, eh? George
I
is.
have a thought.
There we go. Erica, please.
I feel like, from what I've heard now, that most of the people who have spoken feels that there is a kind of collaboration, a co-creation, a relationship between two or more people, and one of the like one of them is looking for help or change or transformation, and the other person is there to hold space for that and to witness, and if possible, bring their own experience and their own knowledge and their own learnings from life in this co-creation. So I heard one, like, I think it was a quote that what we learn we can teach, and what we learn can help someone else. And we tend to seek help from people who have somewhat experienced or gone through things in life that we are going through. And I think that that's really the co-creation. But then something came to my awareness, and that is like, okay, but what are we creating then? So if it's a co-creation, if it's a collaboration, then what are we creating? What's the goal of coaching? And that brings me to what we were talking in my group, and we said, or a couple of people said, that we're bringing ourselves back home, we're coming back home. And if we all just want to come back home, we want to create more well-being, and we want to create more love on this planet. And maybe that sounds like a cliche, but I think it's a cliche because it's true, because we all just want to feel good and we all just want to be happy. And so if we can help other people, and if we can help ourselves to be more happy, we're creating a much happier world. And I believe that's what we are creating. That's the co-creation. We just want to come back home, basically.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks, Erica. Appreciate it. I'm going to do my best to keep my opinions out of the conversation, at least for now. Don't laugh at me, Jessie Lynn. What else do we think? So again, co-creation is a theme. I mean, there's obviously some purpose behind it. What other thoughts do we have? What other well, we won't call them conclusions, but what other thoughts were shared? Don't make me pick on people. Kirsten, Hans, Jessie Lynn.
I'm happy to share.
There we go.
So in our group, Rick was talking about, and Rick, please do chime in, because I'm trying to paraphrase it. But what I took away from what he was saying, and he spoke really around curiosity as well, is, to me, it seems that it's that partnership in a dialogue that creates awareness, and that's really what we're holding. He spoke about the context as a space that we're holding as a coach, and that increase of awareness that is, and similar to what Ulrika just said, it's coming from the client's experience, and really getting into the words we use, perhaps the labels we use. Well, what does that mean? And Rick was, can't remember exactly the example he gave, but for example, a client says that they find something upsetting, or whatever. Well, what does that mean? What does that look like? What does that feel like? So we're really trying to increase the client's awareness of what they're experiencing, of what they're desiring, of where they're wanting to go, which then leads us into that co-creation of an outcome, which is what the client desires. So the client is in the driving seat of this conversation, but it is a co-creation because we are there to help increase that awareness, to move them forwards.
Yeah, nice.
Anyway, that was just a bit of a ramble now.
No,
Rick, you
no,
might have something to add.
that's perfect. Rick, do you want to add something to that? Did Kirsten get it? Did she nail you pretty good there or not?
Of course she did.
Of course. Yeah.
What she heard and saw what she saw. But, you know, and that's, you know, to me, that's what it is. And the only, I guess, thing that comes up for me around the co-word is, because it's all creation, is that other thing that goes along with it, codependency. And I don't want to be viewed as the catalyst for that change. You know, and then when I say, you know, I want people to hire me to fire me, is that's when I really know I've done my job, is when they can actually, you know, they come back and they go, you know, I'm having a fantastic life right now. Perfect.
Yeah.
Right. And life is an activity. Life's a participation. So if they're participating more in their life, I think we've done our best as a coach, and whatever happens, happens. So I'm a little reluctant about the part of things. Only, and again, it's only a thought, but that's kind of where I kind of see things. And our language is so limited.
Indeed.
Can I add something to that?
Please do.
Because I find this really interesting, and I think that's perhaps something we discussed in our group around labels and how we use words. You know, we were talking about transformation and it being a buzzword, etc. But it's really interesting to hear Rick speaking about co-creating and that potential for codependency, and that's actually something we don't want. And it's interesting because I look at co-creation as the very thing that will create ownership and empowerment of the client, because when we're co-creating, they are ultimately the ones that are moving it forwards. Whereas if I am the one that is creating this transformation, then they have no ownership and no power in it. And so I find it really interesting how we have these words and we can use them in different ways. And to me, that's a really important part of coaching my clients, is to learn how they use the words. What the words they use, what do they mean to them? So that we can, you know, create awareness and understanding and move forwards through that. Anyway.
I love that you mentioned paraphrasing here, but understanding how the client is using the words, and not using words on our terms, but using words on their terms. And part of our job is to understand the words that they're using and what, I mean, I was in a coaching call last night, and a person said, well, that sounds really important to you. I was like, well, no, that's not, that word didn't resonate with me. So being nuanced enough to recognize and use their language, you know. Anyway, listen, I want to move us along, because we could spend hours on this topic alone, but I want to keep playing a little bit with the breakout rooms. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit. We've got a rough we have an understanding and some ideas about, excuse me, what coaching is, what it does, what its purpose is. And I wanted to ask about openings. And I posted this in the Facebook group a little while ago and got some different responses. So I'm curious. So show of hands, how many people here are coaches, or would consider themselves coaches? All right, cool. So a bunch. Hans, no? Your hand, yeah, there we go. I know a bit about your background. So how important is the opening? How important is how we open a coaching dialogue? So you're sitting with a client now, and how does it begin? Haha.
Was that a rhetorical question?
It could be, Rick. Yeah, I suppose it could be. So let me rephrase then. What might the purpose of your opening be in terms of looking at the rest of the dialogue that's going to occur? You have an hour or 45 minutes with a client. Is the opening, is how you open it, is how you orient from the beginning important?
I think it is. And I think the questions like what would make this a really useful or valuable 45 minutes or hour are a really good start, because it just helps someone to really focus. But what I don't like is having the same question each time, because that then becomes a sort of formula. So coming up with different ways of opening, but supporting someone to dip in quite quickly and get focused is useful.
George, to establish connection. Thank you, Carolyn. Yeah, when you're operating from rote, I mean, it's pretty noticeable when someone is being formulaic. From George, to establish connection and rapport. Yeah, nice. Chaos and connection, trust, rapport before moving into outcome questions. Yes, you can tell who's done some formal training, right? So I want to go back into our breakout rooms again. Build resourcefulness. Nice. And what I was going to suggest we do is spend a little bit of time playing with openings. So I'll do some groups again. And I think, hold on a second, let me just see what our numbers are now. Oh, hold on a sec. Oh, there we are. Do we need 5 rooms now? 3, 4. Okay, so it'll be 3 or 4 people per room. And what I'd like you to do is just spend a few minutes, and we'll go maybe 5 or 6 minutes again, talking about openings, what you think their value is, if there is a value, and maybe even practicing an opening if you feel comfortable doing that. So taking turns, you know, if there are 4 people, maybe 2 people at a time. If there's 3 people, 2 people can go, and just ask a few opening questions and see what kind of a response you get. Does everyone understand what we're after here? Some nodding? Yeah, okay. So the idea will be to just play around with openings and see if you can listen to the person's response. So open up as if you're opening a coaching dialogue and see what the response is. And more importantly, to pay attention to where it orients them. Where does your question or your opening take the person? What direction does it take them into? And we'll do the same thing, like 5 or 6 minutes. And I've reorganized the rooms a little bit, and the rooms are open, and away we go. Oops, should be able to go. Yes, there we are. Excellent.
I lost connection, Michael.
Oh, I see.
So yeah.
Now I'm not sure how to put you back there.
That's all right. It probably isn't long left, is there?
Well, 3 or 4 minutes.
All right. There's yeah.
Assign to no. Let's see if I can go to participants and do this. Participants, Carolyn Moore. Yeah, I don't know. Looks like it's just you and me then, Carolyn.
Okay, we can practice openings.
Yeah, so what's your, and we're actually going to have a chance to do that in a second. We're going to play a little game called Connections.
Okay.
But what do you think about, I mean, we've talked about this a little bit. I think you chimed in. I can't remember now if you were part of our discussion on Facebook or not, but what do you think?
I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, what I shared earlier in terms of just that focus. If it's the first one, then it's very different. I wouldn't necessarily start right in if it were the first one. But yeah, the
what do you mean?
element
Sorry,
of-
Carolyn. Just for what do you mean you wouldn't start right in with the first one?
Well, in the first session, I wouldn't necessarily start right in with what's going to make this the most valuable session.
Oh, what would you do instead?
Kind of setting the scene a little bit more. Checking in. It depends how much of a discovery or other session I have. I usually confirm basic things, reminder on things like it's confidential, I make notes, just the sort of setting scene, what questions have they got or anything. So there's all that element. And I also would do a lot more on what they want in the first session.
And how, so I mean, not obviously, but yeah, the very beginning is confidentiality. I mean, that should be the first thing in every conversation. I think we did it once at the beginning, so I don't repeat it in every conversation. Technically, you're supposed to.
Oh, right.
Well, I don't know. The ICF likes to see stuff like that, you know. Give me 1 second here. 1 minute. I've never used breakout rooms before. This is kind of neat, actually.
Have you not? Oh, that's cool. You're giving it a go.
Yeah, this is the first time. Well, I was just saying to my partner, I'm kind of nervous about it because I don't, I'm not naturally technologically savvy.
I know it is nerve-wracking when you try those things. There's so many people who.
Well, I mean, the worst thing that happens is it goes to shit, and that's not really that big a deal.
Exactly, I've done that. I've done that. I put everyone in a room, and I came straight back straight away because I pressed the close, and I thought I was pressing them, and they were like, "We didn't have a chance to speak." I said, "You wouldn't have done. You're right back here." Yeah.
So how would you initiate the conversation around what it was they wanted? Like formalities are aside.
The thing is, I find it's quite hard because I'm so in the moment with where I am with that person or what. So it's interesting trying to think, well, what do I do? So I think it'd probably be a slightly longer view as what do you want out of coaching? I mean, that would have come out in the pre-questionnaire, but something around what would make the coaching good? What do they want? What do they want for themselves? Yeah, so maybe just a little bit more general around that. And then maybe honing in sessions. So yeah, perhaps a little more general.
Interesting.
And do you kind of go through a set way with each client?
No, I don't have a set opening myself, but I do have a goal in mind in terms of where I would like to orient the client as the conversation begins. So no, I don't have a set one that I use, but I do have an orientation in mind. But
what do you mean by?
Okay, welcome back, everybody. So let's hear your best openings. George is smiling. What did we discover that we liked or didn't like?
Well, I kind of left my group hanging a little bit. It's time is such an interesting thing when you're, but I asked how, the importance, is the opening important in creating this, like we talked about space. So is it the actual opening that creates the space, or is there something behind the opening that allows that for all to happen?
Morton, do you have that? I saw a reaction there. Was that a reaction to Rick, or was that something? I'm paying attention.
Yeah, I really resonate with what you said there, Rick. Like I might. This is my first time here, and I don't know if I'm following the rules.
There are
if there
no
are
rules.
any. All right. So, but I resonate with that a lot, because in my sessions I actually want to do the opposite of trying to have a good opener. I want to show up as a naked baby. That's what I said. To explore the whatever is showing up in here, and going back to kind of to that energy or understanding or frame or whatever word to put on it, where I'm kind of talking to another me, not me, but that place where we are one. And yeah, I have to use the same examples as I did in the conversation, the call we just had. Like in a kindergarten, you wouldn't try to get to know anyone, but just all of a sudden you're playing with someone new. So yeah, when you said, Rick, that there's an underlying current, an understanding of who we are, of life force unfolding that we all resonate with, that is under our words and under the surface of the techniques. And that said, the techniques will also be cool and useful when they show up, but they will show up like nature got our back. It will show up in the perfect moment, and then you will be genuinely curious of where the person are from, or genuinely curious about what's hanging in the background, or their Zoom image, or
That's interesting. That's interesting, Morton. And I'll throw out a question for everyone. Are we curious about, like, where is the curiosity coming from? Is it our curiosity that we're asking questions from, or are we asking questions on behalf of the client's curiosity? Do I need to be curious about what the client wants? And that makes it about me, not about the client. Just to, I wasn't going to do this. I wasn't going to give my opinions. I threw that out. I saw Kirsten smile at that, so I don't know if I'm in trouble or not. We'll see. Mark, you've got your hand up, and Erica, did you have?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to go Erica first. We'll go
So-
Erica first, and then to Mark. So Erica, go ahead.
Okay.
Jessie.
Yeah, so I had a really interesting conversation with Willem in our group, and we were talking about that different, like, I feel like let's not focus so much on the perfect opening, because the perfect opening might not be perfect for one person, but it might be for someone else. And it all depends on the mood and the vibe and the situation itself and the person, whatever he or she is going through. And so something that usually works for me when I'm having a conversation with someone, when I'm seeking help or counsel or advice, is how do you feel? Because that brings me immediately to the core of what I'm going through. And there is no way that we can lie to ourselves, to our feelings, because they are going to show up eventually, even if we want it or not. And so asking someone, how do you feel, is to me a way of connecting and creating space and trust, because it shows that we are there for another person. It shows that we want to listen and we want to hold space, and it's okay to feel. I guess when we go to a coach, we have a specific feeling. There is something that we're feeling. We're going through something. And so if we can connect with that feeling, then that's a great opening for a great conversation and for great transformation if we allow it. So
so interesting. That's so interesting. I was just one of the courses that I'm doing right now, we were just talking about feelings and the pursuit of them in conversation last night, actually. Okay, so Hans has got his hand. Sorry, Erica, I'm just getting cognizant of time, and I do want to try one last little thing. So hopefully we have a few extra minutes from some of you, maybe 15 more minutes. We'll see. If you have to go, you have to go. So Jessie Lynn sent me a message saying that she's been trying to raise her hand, but she can't. So we'll go Jessie Lynn, we'll go Mark, and we'll go Hans. So JL, what have you got?
So I was going to go back to Morten because I was trying to raise my hand since then. And the question that I had would be similar to the one that I had to Steve when we were in our breakout group is, so what would be your first kind of interactive conversation when somebody comes to speak to you? Like, so when we're thinking about openings, because Steve was also saying something about not really having an opening. So what would be your interaction so you would know where to go next?
I wouldn't know where to go next.
Okay, and that's a fair answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't try to control anything.
Okay.
Mark.
Yeah, I was so I was in Merton's group and Hans' group, and Hans said something which kind of just blew my head in a sense, because I've always had this great belief that it's just, go with the flow and everything, and I'm being more aware of it now, is that everybody's at a different stage. And what Hans was saying within our group was that if you're coaching a client who's paying you 100K, then you've got to come in at 100K level. You can't come in at like, okay, well, what's going to happen? What do you want? Because not everybody has got that awareness and understanding that they have got stuff going on. People who are more, I would say, if anything, who are more higher up the chain, if anything, will push stuff away from them and not look into themselves anyway. But people who are lower down the chain, kind of like, okay, well, there must be something going on because I'm not making this amount of money, or let me try this, or let me do that. So yeah, that was one of my observations. What Hans said in our group.
Can I say something there? I thought this was really interesting.
Go ahead, Erica.
And something that I said to Willem in our conversation was that if we allow ourselves to be authentic to who we are, we're going to attract people who want to seek our advice. We're going to automatically attract the people that we want in our network. And this is why, in my opinion, and I believe that we should not seek the right way to coach or the perfect way to be of service, because we can't be for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone is seeking help from a person who offers coaching for 100K, then maybe that's their person. Maybe that's what they need. But if someone comes to me or to Morten or to someone else, they come to me because they seek my vibe and my advice and my space. Okay. And I guess what it all comes down to as well is to be true to who you are and true to what you believe and the way you believe that you can help someone or not help someone, depends. But I just think it's interesting when we try to focus on being the perfect coach or having the perfect openings or having the perfect paycheck every month, because it's not about that. It's about attracting the customers and the clients that wants your help and wants your advice, I think.
I totally agree
Hold
with
on,
you.
hold on. I got to do the moderation thing. Hans has patiently had his hand up for a while now, so we're going to go to Hans and then we'll see afterwards. Hans, go ahead, man.
Yeah. So I believe in trusting your wisdom and see what occurs to an extent. But I also believe that coaching is a skill, and you have to learn how to be a great coach.
Yeah.
It's not going to be, I'm not going to be the greatest coach by just waiting to see what occurs to me. The more training that I do, the more things that I try out, the more clients that I have, and the more practice that I have, I'm going to be more skillful in having impactful conversations. So that's the route I'm heading to learn as much as I can and practice, because I think, yeah, that's what I've seen on my journey, that that's better for me and for my clients.
Nice, thank you, Hans. Shall we test this a little bit? You want to play a game? George has got to go. All right. Well, we can try with 4 minutes. And yeah, thank you, Hans. Thank you, Kirsten, for that acknowledgement. What I was going to suggest we do, because we've been talking about openings and we have different opinions on their worth. I know some of you will have heard of an exercise called connections. And the connections exercise is you all get to coach me. And one of you will open up however you want to open the conversation. And then I will respond to that. And then the next person will ask a question and I will respond to that. And then the next person will ask a question and I will respond to that. So you really have to listen to what's being said so that you can formulate your next question appropriately based on what me, the client, has said. You guys down with trying this? Yeah, okay. All right, cool. So I actually have a real topic. So this is not, it's not BS. I actually have a topic. So who would like to start off? Who would like to open the conversation up? Who's brave enough to start? Okay, so Mark is going to start with his, however you would open a conversation, Mark. If I was your client, we're going to start off exactly as if you were, if I was paying you, you know, an average rate. And then we'll go to the next person. And what I'll do, if you don't want to do it, if you want to pass, just, you know, when I get to you, just say so and we'll move on to the next person. And I'm just going to go in order of, I'll just go in order of how the pictures are up. Okay, so Mark, you want to get us started?
Yeah, so first of all, I'd like to ask you, what would make this an extraordinary session for you right now?
What would make this an extraordinary session for me right now? Well, I'd like to be a little bit clear on something that that I've been weighing and considering. I'd like to have a little bit more clarity. So, Carolyn.
What is it you'd like more clarity on? That's not what I would probably say, but well, maybe.
I would like some more clarity on how to use my past experience in a new career. Jessie Lynn.
What would that give you?
What would that give me? What that would give me would be, it would give me a little bit more confidence in terms of utilizing my past experience and seeing the relevant pieces of that in terms of this new career that I'm considering going into. Jane?
So what was that past experience that gave you the positive experience that you want to recreate?
Interesting. Well, I don't want to recreate it. I just want to figure out what aspects of that past experience are going to be relevant. And it was my previous business of 13 years. Now remember, I'm just answering your questions. Morton.
What type of business was it?
It was a gym. Willem. Okay, Erica.
Do you have any idea of how you would want to do that?
No, I really don't. That's kind of the dilemma that I'm having is I don't know how to do that. I don't know, Rui, I don't know if you're still around or not. Oh, okay. I can unmute you, Willem, if you want to ask. Okay, Rui's gone. We'll come back to you, Willem. Steve? No?
So these skills that you have that you want to put into a new career, how universal are these skills, do you think, to going into something new?
Well, I think they're universal. The problem is that I'm not sure which ones to accentuate, which ones to focus on.
So...
One question.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
That's okay. Willem? Willem, do you want to have a go there? I can't unmute you either. That's very strange.
There
we go.
Let me think. I don't really have anything I can.
That's cool. No worries,
really
man.
Attribute at this moment in time.
All right, all good. So do we have time to do one more round?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then I think we're back up to Caroline. So you're building off the last. Oops. Can you unmute yourself?
What about
It's all frozen.
Oh, there we go. You're back. You were.
Can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I missed a little bit at the beginning about, you said you would like to take some aspects of your past, and I didn't quite hear what it was. Something about creating what you're wanting to do going forward. Could say more about what it is that you're wanting to create going forward, if I heard that right.
Oh, well, what I originally said was that I would like to get some clarity on how I can use experiences from the past in my new business.
Okay. In that case, no, sorry, we already asked that. I've frozen. Let me come back. I've gone a bit blank.
Yeah, no problem. Mark.
Yeah, sorry, just literally plugging in my computer's about to die. So you say, do you want to go to someone else before, and I'll just plug it in?
Sure.
And I'll come back. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Jessie Lynn.
Okay, I don't know which one. Sorry, can you read? I don't remember now what the last question,
Isn't that interesting? Eh?
Yeah.
So let's pause here. And who remembers what I initially said I wanted? What did I say?
You said you wanted clarity on utilizing some of your resources you've been using for years in your new career choice or your new chapter in life.
Yeah.
Your
And
dilemma is you don't know how to do it.
what's that, Jessica?
And your dilemma is you're not sure how to do that.
Yeah. So what else did we hear as the conversation went around? Jane, go ahead.
I just wanted, before we, could I ask you a question? I was wondering about asking you whether using that, if you did know what you want to do, what do you think that would be? And just trying to explore the unknown a little bit. But that's that magic question, you know, that you can get in that solution focused. But anyway, that's what I would have probably played a little bit with.
Right. So let's, I mean, we've, you know, there were some technical issues as well that we had there for a second. So things got a little bit disjointed. Where do we see the value in the questions that are being asked? And where do we see the value in listening to what the client actually asks for?
I noticed that the questions went in narrower than perhaps I would have done if on a one-to-one.
So they went
get more specific. They felt to me like they were narrowing down and getting more specific in tangibles before exploring what clarity would look like, or some of the, I don't know how to describe it, but some of the kind of broader issues.
So what does a narrowing of the questions do in a conversation?
It narrows possibility. It gets very specific very quickly. So you might narrow, I might narrow later in a session if I was wanting to get help, if I sense that the client wanted to get specific, but it felt to me quite early on to get narrow. I lost a little bit about I don't know what the words are, but the sense of it, the feel of what the issue was. I hadn't quite got a handle on that, right. Which is not for me, but in order to help unpack it for you. Is that making sense?
Absolutely. What did you think of the opening question that Mark asked? Mark, can you repeat your opening question?
Yep. It was, what would make this an exceptional session for you today?
So what makes, was that a good question to start off with, do you think, guys and girls? Yeah, what makes that a good question? Like, what makes that a good opening, do you think?
You get some clarity on where your client is at.
Right. So you get clarity on where I was at now. Yeah. What else?
It's also a framing question and an expectation management question. As soon as you ask that, then you know, we have a context. Premise. Right. I don't know what that's called in English. Premise.
A premise. I thought you were saying permission, which it also does.
Which it also does, yeah.
Yeah. So I actually like the question. Mark, can I pick on it just a tiny little bit?
Yeah, sure, please. Yeah.
It's not about this session. It's about what's going to happen after the session. So the only criticism, and I'm really not in any place to criticize it, so I don't mean it in that sense, but asking about the session itself, what would be beneficial in this session? That's a very small question. So a way to reframe that question might be, so imagine that this session turns out to be really good. So suppose this is a really good session for you. What difference might that make down the road? So that takes it out of this session context, out of the container of the session, and actually gets the client oriented to the effect that this particular conversation is going to have next week or in the next day or after the conversation is done. Does that make sense? Does that resonate? So it takes it outside of the container of the conversation and now asks about how will you know in real terms in your life that this conversation was meaningful or valuable to you? Does that resonate? Morton, sorry, Morton's got his thinking face there on there. What do you think of that?
Could you say it again, please, Michael?
Well, the original question as asked was if this session were good, right? So the addition that I would offer is if this session were good, what difference would it make for you 2 days down the road or 3 days down the road? Or what differences might you notice as this session ends and you start to go about your day? So it takes it out of the context of the session itself and brings it into the context of the life of the individual client.
Another example might be, how would you know that this session was beneficial for you? Like moving forward.
Yeah. So it's just the very, very subtle ways that we can create an intentionality, because we want to aim, my understanding, so the way that I try to coach is that we want to, and I think there is intention here, we want to direct people towards what we would, solution focused, Jane, you got it there, to their preferred future or their preferred outcome. Well, their preferred outcome and future extends far past the session that you're having. You could almost say the session itself is irrelevant, because what is really relevant is what the person does with what they've gotten as they go out into their life. Oh, Carolyn. I saw that. So, and again, please understand that I am not speaking about this from any level of expertise, right? I've been coaching for a little while now. I'm in the coaching world. It's my work, but I don't claim to know more than anyone else here, just to be very clear about that. So if we come back to the conversation we were having earlier about openings, does anyone see that any differently now? Right. So Erica, you brought up the question, how do you feel? Okay, so we'll take a couple of minutes, because I got to go at 1:15, but so if you were to have, if that conversation would have opened with, how do you feel? Okay, so ask me that question. I'll just, same context, same conversation. So Erica, go ahead.
So how do you feel today?
Lost.
And why is that?
Because I don't know what I'm doing. So where has the orientation immediately gone? The orientation has immediately gone to the problem. So now we're talking about what is a problem, right? Or would have the perception of a problem. So the orientation, how do you feel? I feel like shit. Why? Well, because I don't know what I'm doing. Well, now
it's interesting. Sorry, it's interesting because during the conversation or the coaching session that we had, I kind of sensed some sort of lostness or confusion, and I wanted to find a way. Before it was my turn again, I wanted to find a way to go into that, but I didn't really know where the conversation were heading. I didn't really feel that the conversation were heading somewhere towards that. So I just found it hard to know how to ask the core question that I wanted to ask, because I could feel that, okay, the problem is that he feels confused. There is some kind of diffusion or confusion around how to move forward. And in my own experience, I just know that whenever I feel confused about something, there is like some kind of belief that I have. There's some kind of thought that is blocking, the solution or the possibility of moving forward. So I just felt like I wanted to ask you more about how you feel problems.
You're a little glitchy there.
There's work with there, and I guess that's also where we can find the solution. And yeah, now I'm just like talking, but I felt like I want to ask you, like,
Oh, Erica, you're cutting out. Is she cutting out for you guys as well? Okay, yeah, Erica, we're missing most of what you're saying.
around
And you're frozen now.
Problem.
So hold on, Erica. Let's.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay.
I think my internet is really bad.
Yeah, it seems like it's a little choppy.
But anyways, okay, cool. Yeah.
Well, I didn't hear much of that, but thank you for your willingness to share there.
Yeah.
Jane, what did you have there?
You see, we are running out of time, so I'll be quick. One of my purposes of my question was when I asked you, when have you felt successful, or when were you clear, was to bring to the positive aspects what you already have experienced, so that possibly new ideas would come from that as to what your next steps might be. But that was my kind of direction with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you know a little bit about solution focus. So you're exploring quadrant 2, resourceful past. Okay, so you have this problem, or you have this perception of a problem. Well, what in the past that is similar to this problem might be helpful in addressing this problem as it is now? So we're looking at what the person has accomplished already and how that might be applicable to what they're facing now. So I caught that right away. It's like, okay. And then you use the magic question, right? So it's like, oh yeah, clearly has done some technical training. So listen, thank you so much. I'm going to close us off. Thank you very, very much. I really value all of your opinions and insights. And the fact that you stayed for an extra 15 minutes on this is very cool. So I'm going to, I think I'll post it. I don't know how this will look when I post it, given that you're in breakout rooms. So it might just be me sitting here. Hopefully I'm not doing anything silly. So thank you all again. I hope there was some value. And I mean, there certainly was for me. So on that note, thank you so much.
Great. Thanks.
I'll post about the next one and we'll go from there. Love
Thank
you all so
you.
much. Thanks so much.
Bye.
And Willem, I owe you an email. It's coming soon. Okay, bye guys.